Hello and welcome. This is James from the DSO Imager channel. Tonight I'm going to go over my first light experience with the Antlia Hershal Wedge. So the way I'm going to break this video down is first I'm going to go over a very quick primer on solar imaging. Then I'm going to go into detail about the Antlia Wedge itself. Then we'll cut over to a short unboxing video so you can see how it arrives packaged in the different parts. Then I will go ahead and do a first light report. I'll show a short video capture and some of the pictures I've taken. And then I'll also cover future plans with this product. So let me first say that I am not an expert on solar imaging. It is very different from deep sky object imaging, which is what I do and most of my subscribers do. It is similar to imaging the planets in a sense that you're shooting video instead of still images, and it's very sensitive to seeing conditions. But at least to me, it seems to be a bit more complex than imaging planets. I hang out on the Cloudy Nights forums for solar imaging for a little bit, and if you're a DSO type of imager, it's going to seem like those guys are speaking a different language. So at a very basic level, you have these three different types of imaging. HA is seemingly the most popular, at least those are the pictures that you see all this nice detail on the sun's surface, and you can get the solar flares, the prominences out there. That requires a special HA filter, and this is going to let you see the chromosphere at the HA bandpass. And the thing is, though, that bandpass is very, very narrow. It's measured in angstroms. So a 3 nanometer filter that we use on deep sky objects, it's not going to work on the sun for any of that. Next up is the calcium filter, and that also lets you look at the chromosphere at a different wavelength. This wavelength is near ultraviolet. Not nearly as popular as the HA, and the main reason for that is that you're generally not going to see any of the prominences or solar flares or any of that with the calcium. Calcium images do give you a very distinctly different look at the sun's surface compared to HA. And to be honest, I've looked at some really nice ones out there, and it's really interesting seeing the sun's surface on that. So I wouldn't underestimate the types of images you can get with calcium. And the next type of solar imaging that you can do is what they call white light. Basically, you're getting a filter that's blocking a lot of the sun's energy so that it's safe to look at with your eyes or use a camera on there, but it's covering the full spectrum of the sun. Well, on the visual side, and that's why it's called white, because you're getting the white light, and white makes up all the colors. You're getting all the white light. You're not going to see the details that you would see with HA and calcium. You're getting a look at the photosphere with it. This is also the cheapest option. HA and calcium filters are very expensive, and there's some skill and knowledge of how to use them, especially with the HA filters. There are different types of HA filters, and you have to basically tune in that frequency to get a good picture. With the white filters, it's a lot easier to use. Okay, so here's this awesome picture that I found on Astrobin. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the astrophotographer's name. I apologize for that. I have a popsicle stick for a tongue. But anyway, so here we have our HA. He used a Lunt telescope with an HA filter for that. For the white image, he used a beta solar filter with an ND 3.8 continuum filter in there. And for the calcium, he used a Lunt calcium K B1200 filter for that. And so yeah, you can see the HA, the white light, and the calcium. And we're going to focus on the white light and the calcium K here. So the calcium, you can see a lot more surface detail compared to the white light. Next, I briefly want to cover the Herschel Wedge itself. So this type of tool has been around for a very long time, since the 1830s. And basically what happens is the light from the telescope is coming in this way, right? And then this prism refracts a small percentage of the light up this way. So the eyepiece or camera would be here. In this example, you can see there's a filter here, and there's another filter here, or maybe this is variable transmission polarizing filter. And then what you're seeing in this picture here is an eyepiece, right? So take this out and the camera would be here. And the rest of the energy from the sun gets passed and goes out the back safely. Alright, and so with all of that out of the way, now we can finally talk about the Antlia calcium K wedge and the 3 nanometer filter that is included in this Antlia wedge. So in order to see the chromosphere at the calcium wavelength, you need a very narrow bandpass, and I've got it listed here at about 2.4 angstrom. That Lunt calcium filter, that's about the bandpass that you're getting with that, is 2.4 angstroms. The Antlia calcium filter is 3 nanometers, so it's just way too wide to truly get that calcium transmission. So it's not accurate to call this filter a narrowband filter for solar imaging. You're not going to get that calcium line. So as I got listed here, it's really more of a white light photosphere filter. It's narrower than, say, putting some solar film on there or any of those other options, but it's still not narrow enough to exclude all the light except for calcium. Now it is 3 nanometers on the ultraviolet spectrum, and they do say that this filter is not for visual use, and I think part of the issue there is that wavelength is very faint for human eyes to pick up. Most people, I think, won't even see anything in there. So this wedge by Antlia is for imaging only, not for visual use. The main point I'm wanting to get across here, though, is that this is not, you're not getting a true calcium narrowband filter at this price point. And there seems to be a little bit of misunderstanding about that. And, honestly, Antlia could probably do a better job of clearing that up in their advertising for this. But let's take a look at this wedge, and then take a look at the pictures that I got with it. Alright, so this is what the Antlia solar wedge looks like when you get it out of the box. It comes in this box. I was a little surprised that they just had packing peanuts in here, so I'm going to have to get some foam or something to make a better fit for this. And we got it in plastic baggies. Just give a quick look. Now there's that aperture, and here's the control ring. The tension on this feels pretty loose. I don't know if there's a way to tighten it, but very loose. And I assume the filter's in here. I think these are for the tension. So it looks like that's where the filter's at. Yeah, so these screws go into each of these holes so you can secure your camera. So I'm guessing I'm just going to use the nose piece, the eye holder nose piece for the camera. And yeah, there's our filter in there. Don't look like they made it too easy to get out of. Alright, so before I show you the pictures that I got, let me show you a playback of one of the video clips. And yes, if this looks like the eclipse that happened recently, that's exactly what it is. So my first light with the Antlia Wedge was on the solar eclipse. Now, I didn't get the full solar eclipse here in Central Texas. I was just outside the totality, so I got about 85% covered. But that was one of the motivating factors of getting this. It was either get some film, which I already had the film, or get this wedge, which is a good bit more expensive than the film, but a lot cheaper than the other options. And so that's the route that I went. Now, a couple things. Seeing actually wasn't that good this day. So I would say the seeing was probably pretty poor. And so there's that. And the other thing is, because this was an eclipse and I wanted to get pictures of different stages of the eclipse, I kept the videos extremely short. In fact, I just collected frames. I think I collected like 300 frames on this one. This whole video is just 6 seconds. So let me hit play and let's see how this looks with the with my desktop capture software. Yeah, you can see how wavy that is. So yeah, really poor seeing conditions. But still, I mean, we're getting some nice surface detail. Oh, and the gear that I used for this, really quick, I did use my Celestron AVX as the mount. For the telescope, I use a 70mm refracting telescope. It's my Stellarvue SV70T. And for the camera, I use an ASI 1600 mono. Probably not the best camera for this, but at least it was mono. And the larger field of view made it really easy to find the sun and get it centered. Okay, so I used Auto Stakkert to stack this video, and this picture here is 20% of the frames of the total video, and I did use a drizzle factor of 1.5. And this is straight out of Auto Stakkert. This is zero processing at all. Now, the only processing that I really did to these images was I sharpened them up, and then I colorized the image. Now, I processed this shot two different ways. One, I actually used Blur Exterminator on this. A lot of people don't know this, but with Blur Exterminator, you can uncheck this automatic PSF, and you can manually plug in a value here, and you can kind of experiment with this value and apply it to objects that don't have stars, or use it on a starless image, and in effect get a deconvolution solution on there. So that's what I did here on this one. So this is the picture we'll kind of center these sunspots on. And this here is what it looked like after one pass of Blur Exterminator. And I think that actually did a pretty good job. And then what you see here is I hit it with a little bit of unsharp mask. So here we go again. This is straight out of Auto Stakkert. This is with an application of Blur Exterminator, and then this is with unsharp mask. And considering what the seeing conditions were that day, I think this is actually really good. I'm pleased with the detail that we're getting out of this. I mean, and again, considering it was just a little 70mm scope and a very short video capture, I think normally you'd want to go 2 or 3 minutes on the sun, maybe. I have to research this because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not an experienced solar imager. Now, the more traditional way of processing images of the sun is to use Registax. So here's what it looks like with a pass-through Registax. Actually, let's compare them really quick. I think the Registax version looks more detailed, but the or rather the Registax version looks more detailed to me, but the Blur Exterminator version looks a little bit more smoother to me. Oh, let's see. I think I did. Yeah, I applied a little bit of unsharp mask to it too. So this is with it applied, but you know, I think that maybe overdid it. Take a look at those sunspots. Yeah, so you see the difference there. We have like finer. It's finer, less contrasty with the Blur Exterminator. We got more contrast here with Registax. Of course, this is a matter of how far you push it, right? Maybe I could have done more here. Both look fine to me, to be honest. Oh, you want to see something cool? Check this tool out. Bring it over. Yeah, so you can plug in a wavelength in here, and it'll tell you exactly what the values of that color is, and show you an example of that color. And so 394 nanometers, that's the calcium K line. And so if you used a color camera, while I would not recommend a color camera for solar images, this is probably pretty close to the color that you would actually see. So it's funny talking about the color of the sun. All those orange images you see out there, those are all artificially colored to give a pleasing look. The real color of the sun, it's mostly white. In fact, I think it puts out more green light than any other color on the visual spectrum. But I colorized this one to kind of get it close to the purple, right? And I mean, that's probably pretty close to what it would look like looking at it through this filter. Alright, and because this was the eclipse, I did do a sequence of shots here. Let's take a look at these. One interesting thing was that the seeing got worse as the day went on. So if you look at these two pictures, I think these came out really nice, and the seeing got worse after the totality. Yeah. So I mean, if you look at this one compared to that one, this one definitely looks nicer. But anyway, so this is the results that I got with that Antlia filter, and I have to say, overall, I'm pleased with it. I definitely am keeping an eye on the forecast for a clear day where I don't have to work, where the seeing conditions are really good, that I can maybe push it a bit more and see what I can do. Alright, so in closing, I just wanted to give a list of some other alternatives of products that are also white light filters for the sun. One is the solar film. Bader makes some. Thousand Oaks, I think, has a line, and there's probably another couple of companies out there, a couple other brands. I have the Bader film myself, and I do plan on doing a comparison between the two. So that will be interesting. Bader makes a Herschel wedge, a 2-inch wedge, and it comes, or you can get it with a 7.5 nanometer continuum filter. And I think there was another filter option. The Bader one looked like it was easier to swap out filters. This Antlia one, is not designed to have the filter removed. In fact, their instructions say that taking it apart or removing that filter voids the warranty on it. So it looks like you can get in there and take it out, but it's not, clearly wasn't designed to take it out. And then Lunt has a white solar wedge that's available in 2-inch and 1 1/4 inch, and it comes with an ND3 filter. Now, as far as the 2-inch versus 1 1/4 inch, I think the main part there is how large of a scope it'll support. The Antlia wedge maxes out at 120 millimeter refractor. You can go larger with these other options. Oh, and I should mention, I think I brought it up on the slide showing the Antlia wedge, but Antlia wedges Antlia wedges. Herschel wedges can only be used with refracting telescopes. You can't use them with reflectors of any type. So I can't use this with my SCT, and I can't use it with any Newtonian. Okay, so that's all I've got for this video. Don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this type of solar imaging, whether it's something that interests you, whether you have experience with the other solar filters. Would love to get a discussion going on about that. I think solar imaging is an intriguing choice for someone like myself that's focused on deep sky objects. Gives us something to do when the sun's out. All right, have a good evening, everyone. Clear skies.